Julius Novachrono, the god of time, the wizard king, lead sorcerer of all the Clover kingdom. Abusing the power of time, Julius can erase his opponents from existence. Versus Feugoleon Vermillion, the Crimson Lion personified. Already a strong mage with royal blood and high work ethic, with the addition of the fire spirit salamander, he now has the military firepower of an entire nation at his own disposal. Likely the next in line to be the Wizard King. Who would win this titanic matchup? What is going on, guys? This is Broku, and welcome back to another video. This is my weekly versus battle series. Last week's battle, Yami versus Leona, was a success, with a lot of people enjoying the series so far. Of course, this series is going to be continued with the likes of these two powerhouses. If you aren't familiar with how this series works, I'm going to post two weekly polls. One poll decides who fights, the other poll is who you guys decide to win, and if you list your reasons why in the comments of the poll, you will earn a chance to get it featured in the video. Then, I will give my analysis on two of the characters and give you feats, statements, lore, and scaling as to who would win. First, I'm going to go over the comments, and then I will go into the analysis. So, if you don't care about me reading your comments, I will leave a timestamp here so you can skip ahead to my analysis of the characters. In the first poll, Fuegoleon and Julius took over 76% of the vote between the overall 5 characters, and in the versus battle poll, it was a very one-sided affair, with 2.5 thousand votes. An astounding 88% of you picked Julius to win. So since Julius was picked to win, I will go over his supporting comments first. This is from DJ1. It doesn't matter if he has Salamander, Julius will knock him out within seconds while holding back. From Coolio, Julius wins low diff. He can see the future, heal instantly, reverse time, and kill Feugoleon in one hit. From Ghost Metz, Julius has country level power. It can just revert any damage fire can do, and even better, he might be able to stop the damage the fire does, because the fire does damage over time, and if he stops that time, the fire is useless. Just a possible power you might have. If this is true, then this is just a terrible matchup for Feugoleon. Now, onto the comments for Feugoleon. From NF Savenson. It's close, but my money is on Feugoleon. If he does something similar to when he was fighting the elf Kaiser, can't remember his name, and uses a salamander as a distraction, I think it could work. I'm mostly coming down to strategy over full power. Then we have one from the street. We don't have speed feats for Fueg. 1, Feugoleon and Julius are relatively equal in speed. Julius would win without a problem. For 2 scenario, if Fueg is equal in speed with Patri, who fought Julius, still Julius will win. He could kill Patri chapter 143, but he aimed for his sword instead. Number 3, if Fueg is faster than Patri, it will be harder for Julius to win, but I would say he is low to mid diff. Number 4, if Fueg is way faster than Patri, Julius would win high diff. Number 5, if Fueg is way faster than Patri, then Feugoleon wins. That's just my opinion. Alright, so now I'm going to go, I just went over your comments, read some of what you guys thought, but now I'm going to just say that, yeah, there wasn't very many comments for Feugoleon because not a lot of people think he could win this. These are really the only 2 comments I could find of people who supported Feugoleon. Even one isn't even really supporting him, it's just giving one option a way that he could win. So first I'm going to give my analysis on Julius, and I know this is going to get very controversial really quick, especially for everyone who loves Julius, which I do too. But the thing with Julius is that he has some of the weirdest scaling that I've ever seen for a character of his stature. So, there are 2 main ways to scale Julius, and I can't really decide which is the more accurate one. So I will just give you both of these power scales for him, and compare both of them to Feugoleon. I will start with the weaker one first, but there are 2 things that I need to get out of the way here. Basically, get rid of some misconceptions about Julius himself. One is that he should be scaled to beginning of series Yami, since both Patri and Valtos compared him to Yami's power. Well, kind of like I already debunked in the last video, this isn't the case. They were only comparing Yami to a heavily suppressed power of Julius. Julius had just got done telling Asta, this is only a small fraction of what you'll need to surpass, and then Julius attacked Patri from a distance with his killing spell. So, imagine Julius's power like this. He has his base form, and then reinforcement magic, mana skin, and mana zone would all go beyond that power, and despite that, he uses only a small fraction of his power and tagged Patri from a distance. Which gives us a really interesting way of scaling for Julius, which is that Julius himself isn't that fast, but his reactions are crazy fast, and his attack spell, the time killing spell, is way faster than himself as well. But anyways, onto the other misconception is that Julius isn't that strong because he lost to Patri, which makes him weak because of how weak Patri was, Patri being far weaker than even suppressed base forms of the Third Eye. But it's important to note that the Patri that fought Julius is at the very least several times more powerful than when he fought Yami in the cave. This is important to note because you can add things up that, really goes against Julius here and shows why he did lose this fight. We can prove that Patry got stronger because he has a 4-leaf Clover Grimoire, which we know people with these grimoires grow really fast in power, proven by Yuno and Asta. Also, we know that base suppressed Raya was in a whole other league of power above Patry, yet Elf Patry and Elf Raya, when they both used the same light spell, it moved at roughly the same speed. This means that base Patry is now at the same level of base Raya, when before he wasn't even close to a suppressed Raya. And since Raya brings magic up to his level, it means by proxy he's bringing a spell to Patry's level, thus Patry is equal to a full power base Raya now. Remember, Raya was basically an equal to Charlotte while suppressed, so Patry would naturally scale above Charlotte. So this means that Julius was fighting someone who scaled above some captains, and we do know that light magic is a weakness for time magic. Like how water is good against fire, light is good against time, this is stated by Patry. And one of the most important things is that Julius held back his killing spell the entire fight, because he couldn't bring himself to kill William, who was inside of Patry. So despite all of these things going against him, he was still clearly above Patry in power. The only issue was Patry potentially having a slight speed advantage while Julius was trying to use his capture spell. So here is how Julius can be skilled. His combat speed is a bit slower than base Patry. His attack speed with his time killing spell would be way faster than that, as proven when him in a suppressed state casually tagged Patry from a distance. So he has his reaction speed, which is greater than his combat speed, his foresight, and his killing spell, which is basically a hacks that can one-shot anyone in the series. His attack speed would be way faster than his combat speed, but this actually causes a huge predicament. See, speed is a very important thing in Black Clover, and what decides who wins a battle, and if you use this scaling for Julius, there's likely actually several captains who would defeat him in battle. Remember, I said Patry wasn't equal to base Raya. Well, Mereoleona was fodderizing Third Eye Raya, who scales above base Patry. Then Raya turned Elf, who was 2 tiers of power above Third Eye Raya, and light magic still wasn't an issue for Mereoleona at all. This would mean that Mereoleona would have such a massive speed advantage over Julius, she would probably win. Nozel's speed scales far above Julius, as Patry would get his elf form soon after this, amping all of his stats. Then he would get his dark elf form, increasing his mana even further and giving him demon light magic, a faster and stronger variation of light magic. So this is 3 pretty big buffs for Patry, and yet Asta and Yuno, while they're having trouble with this speed at first due to being surprised, Yuno can almost hit him with Spirit Storm, and Asta is able to parry attacks. Asta can even react to Ray of Divine Punishment, Patry's fastest spell, which wasn't even used against Julius. Remember, this is a Dark Elf Patry, so a Ray of Divine Punishment with 3 amps, and Asta could react to it. So it is weird to say that if you use this scaling to Julius, Asta and Yuno are faster than him as well. Then Dark Elf Patry gets 1 more buff, another large mana increase, and Nozel's Mercury moves just as fast as Dark Elf Patry's Ray of Divine Punishment. So Nozel scales to an even faster version of Patry. At this point, the speed gap would be so massive between base Patry and amped Dark Elf Patry that there's no way that Julius is keeping up with this version, and thus likely loses to Nozel. And in last week's video, I scaled Yami's speed above Mereoleona, which means he would have a speed advantage over Julius too, and likely win. Now this is why I scaled Julius 2 ways. Because there's evidence that he's actually rather slow compared to top tiers, because you would have to assume he was holding back his speed against Patry if you wanted him to be actually fast. It's just weird, because Julius struggled so hard, and he couldn't capture base Patry. But the Devil casually captured Elf Patry, and the Devil didn't even have his Grimoire yet. But like I said, this actually leads into the second version of scaling for Julius. Now, this is assuming Julius actually held back against Patry and more than his attack spell. And we assume that he held back his actual speed too. You can argue, why the hell would he hold back in a situation like this? Well, it is Julius, the man who is a magic otaku. And let's look at the context here. He's fighting someone who has extremely rare light magic and a 4-leaf Clover Grimoire. This probably had Julius screaming his pants to think that such a rare combo existed. So he could have been holding back to purposely draw out the fight, so he could have fun and learn more about light magic and the 4-leaf clover. This would be important. Julius thought he had the situation under control. He knew Patry wasn't that strong compared to him, so he probably wasn't expecting Patry to pull that spell out of his ass, or maybe he truly knew how things needed to play out, and he needed to die in order for the Devil to be properly defeated. Either way, if we take the multiple statements that Julius is the strongest magic knight and scale his speed to Nozel, then he's actually pretty unstoppable. When you pair this with his reaction time and his attack spell, so yeah. So this is Julius through 2 power scales. He's either slightly slower than base Patri, with way faster reaction and attack speed, or he's actually equal in speed, if not a bit faster than Nozel, with even faster attack and reaction speed. I will compare both of these to Fuegoleon to be fair to both sides, because I do believe that it's almost pretty equal on which is more likely to be the case for Julius' scaling. Other things Julius can do is heal himself with time reversal, affect time-space on a country level range, and he can use his magic to foresee the near future. He senses the disturbances of the future of mana to anticipate attacks. This is likely an even more advanced version of Precog / Sixth Sense than Ki. Julius can also use Mana Zone and uses Time Stasis Grigora to capture spells. He then can use these spells to throw them back at the enemy, speeding them up to be even faster. He likely has more spells, but we just don't know about them yet. Now onto the analysis of Feugoleon. He's a character that for a while we had trouble scaling due to his lack of feats in the series, since he was rendered unconscious when he was trapped by Patri. Before, he didn't have any great feats, and he just fought Roddies and his zombies, but it did show that he was pretty smart, finding a way to destroy a creation of Roddies who had amped defense magic. As Tabata has stated himself that Feugoleon is the smartest captain, which means that smarts of Feugoleon will rival Julius here. But we can really start scaling Feugoleon by a statement from Nozel, who infers that Feugoleon was actually stronger than Fauna when she had the baby salamander when he fought her in the cave, which is impressive. Fauna has a 5 out of 5 in magic amount and a 4 out of 5 in mana control without the salamander, yet with the salamander, Feugoleon still scales above her. And now that he has the full grown spirit, or at least a more grown spirit than what Fauna had, he scales now way above her, but likely also way above her in the Witch's Forest and Spirit Ladros. Now the next feat we see from Feugoleon is when he fights his own vice captain in his elf form, which is an impressive feat for Feugoleon. Randall couldn't evade the attack from the salamander and wasn't near strong enough to counter it. Now Randall as a vice captain might on his own have been scaled to be above Patri, and now with his elf form definitely would, since he was taking on Leopold and the rest of the Crimson Lion Kings. Leopold is somewhat comparable to base Asta with speed if you do scaling via different fighters, whom base Asta's speed surpasses Patri at that point. So this feat of Feugoleon defeating Elf Randall puts him above Patri. I don't care about the anime only scene, that's just downplay, it's anime only, even if it is canon. Feugoleon has now feats of him being faster than Patri. Still, I put Randall at least a low tier captain level as an elf, and if not, maybe even mid-captain level. And Feugoleon casually defeat him, despite not being able to control his mana very well. He then defeats some random elves, but where we really scale Fueg is in his counter with Elf Kaiser, and the parallel of Mereoleona versus Elf Veto. While Feugoleon admits that Mereoleona is stronger than himself, she admits that Feugoleon is stronger than herself, which according to this context, we should put Feugoleon as an equal to Mereoleona. In my honest opinion, he probably would be a bit slower than her, but have higher attack potency and durability. Overall the same overall power though. Now if Feugoleon's power works with the salamander, it seems they almost share their power. The salamander puts his mana into Feugoleon, making him stronger and also repairing his arm. In a way how Bell aids the attack power of Yuno, it seems salamander does the same, but instead of blowing into each attack, the salamander just pours it into Fueg's overall power and vice versa, making it more convenient. We also need to remember that the salamander has higher attack power than Bell, as stated by Vanessa. A really interesting feat for Feugoleon here was that he was able to attack Kaiser with just his base power, as he sacrificed the salamander to the vortex magic so that he could sneak in and punch him, and take him out with a single punch. Now I know people have tried to refute my point of this before, saying, well, Fenrir took out Elf Longers with a single punch, therefore the elves, they're not that durable, just because they have high mana. And they're acting like, yeah, Longress doesn't have any durability, and I did agree with this for a while, that yeah, you can't really use this. I stopped using this point. But the thing is that Longress does have high durability. He actually survived an attack from Yami. Yeah, it was a blunt strike, but it was the same blunt strike that was one-shotting many, many other elves. If you don't know how elves use their mana, they have so much it acts as natural reinforcement magic, and they can boost it even further. That is proved when even base Veto's natural magic acted like that, and Elf Kaiser would have way more magic than non-Elf Veto. Either Finral's punch is stronger than Yami's blunt strike, or Longress, at that point, was now weakened enough to work. But Finral does have noble level of manas, with good mana control, so if you paired that with a spatial magic which drastically boosts speed, he might have the momentum to do more damage than Yami did. You could also just take this as an inconsistency, which would mean we can still take base Fuegoleon punching Kaiser as a feat, because you have one, either Fenrir being stronger than Yami, or that Fenrir's attack being stronger than Yami's weakened attack. You also have just longer being weakened, or it's an inconsistent feat. So, like I said before, the gap between regular mana and elf mana is astounding. You basically, if you activate a third eye, then they go into self-destruct, and the elf form would still be stronger than all of that. So the elf form is 3 tiers of magic power stronger. Also, if Kaiser's durability wasn't that strong, why did Feugoleon need to double his punch to take him down? As both Feugoleon and Vermillion use reignition ×2 against their opponents. If Kaiser had bad durability, a regular punch would be enough to take down Kaiser, but Feugoleon needed to double the power of his punch. Now I would compare Kaiser's durability to being that above of non-elf Veto, so in my opinion, base Feugoleon could one-shot the Veto the Black Bulls fought with his spell. Now Feugoleon, like I said, scales to Vermillion. The thing with Fueg is if he pierces you with his fire though, like with Sol Linea, he can incinerate your insides. This is because Sol Linea actually means beam of a miniature sun. So Feugoleon actually creates a small star, then shoots a beam out of it. Ignis Columna is a defensive spell, and Leorzena's is when he creates a giant fire lion, but not much is known about how it works. Now, let's get into this versus battle analysis using the weaker version of Julius first. In this scenario, Julius does have hacks and likely more mana, but Feugoleon does have the speed, durability, and attack potency advantage. Feugoleon's speed, which would be well above Patri, is going to be blitzing Julius. It's just going to blitz him. Yes, Julius can see the future, or foresee it a little bit, but it isn't an unlimited ability. The speed gap is so big that Julius might be able to last a while, but eventually him being forced to go max speed the entire time would drain his stamina. And although, like I said, his attack spell scales above his regular speed, there's no evidence to show it surpasses the gap in speed between the both of them. If Feugoleon hits Julius with Sol Linea, healing won't really mean anything. Julius has only been able to show he can heal from minor wounds. Being burned alive from the inside would kill him. It really isn't a competition in this. But if you use the stronger version of Julius like I scaled, it's a good fight. Julius would have the speed advantage. I do think Feugoleon would survive for a while due to sheer power and wits, but Julius's speed, precognition, and time-killing spell hacks would overpower Feugoleon and would defeat him. So that is my opinion. If you use the Julius as the strongest Magic Knight scaling his speed above Nozel, then he wins. If you use the scaling from solely feats, not lore, and statements, then Feugoleon beats him, and probably easily. Now if you want my opinion on who would win between Julius and a hypothetical Spirit Dive Feugoleon, I would probably give it to Feugoleon. The guidebook puts Spirit Dive as a many times increase over your power, which I'd say at least means a 10 times boost. Giving Feugoleon a 10 times boost and not relying on the Salamander can make him more agile. But Spirit Dive Feugoleon is a hypothetical situation. I just know many people are going to ask in the comments below how strong he is. I do think he would beat even the strongest scaled version of Julius. But anyways guys, that's it for the video. If Feugoleon fights the weaker scaled version of Julius, Feugoleon wins. If he fights the stronger version, Julius wins. And like I said, don't just take this as, oh, Julius wins outright. I do believe that either way of scaling Julius is equally credible. You could say that Julius really isn't that strong because he's not that fast, or you could say he's still stronger than all the captains. It depends on how you scale him. There's equal evidence for both sides in my opinion. So yeah, Feugoleon's pretty strong. But anyways guys, let me know your thoughts down below. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Plus